Guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, it's BTC Gambler here. Listen, Christmas is upon us, and I pray every one of you and your family, I pray you're all doing well. Guys, if you've not seen it, obviously we're looking at Alphaverse at the moment, and if you don't know what Project Alphaverse, I'll put a link in the description for all those that don't know what Alphaverse is. So there'll be a few. We've had a few questions. If you don't know already, I'm live streaming my Alphaverse in Discord under general chat in my MrBtcGambler channel. I'm there on the live chat. I'm live streaming it. And so for the purpose of everybody that's watching this, they can understand what they're seeing. This is in simulation. And what it's running is dice. And it's running with an 18% win chance with a switch over under minus 82 losses. Now that came about through statistical analysis of data, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I pray you to stick around in this video, because what I'm going to show you some other stuff. I'm working on a lot of stuff. I need you to stick around, because I'm also going to ask for your help as well. I'm on a mission, and that mission, I'm going to say this because I don't do these things to impress you. That's not my job. Okay, my job is not to impress you. My job is to impress upon you how important it is to test, and I think of it as a learning journey. A lot of you guys, I don't know you personally, but I feel I know you. I think we are very similar people. Now, me personally, I'm very data driven, statistically driven, and if you're going to run tools like Alphaverse, think of this as terms of it's educational foundation that you're really going to need, because if you're running thousands of bots using Alphaverse, you might know how to drive, for example, but could you drive a 1,000-mile long train? Because you need very different skills. And one of the things that I learned running Alphaverse is you really need to deeply understand the game, otherwise you will get your fingers burnt. Working on a single bot in isolation is very different gambling to running Alphaverse. And when you start gambling on Alphaverse, you're into the realms of complete and utter unknown. And my job here is to take away that unknown, take away the fear and uncertainty and doubt. And I can say hand on heart, guys, the only time that I've lost money on Alphaverse is when I've let fear and uncertainty and doubt get the better of me. And the only way you can ever overcome that fear is by actually doing. And the whole premise around this new version of Alphaverse is taking away that uncertainty, because you can thoroughly test things. Now, what I've been working on in the background are numbered strategies and tests, and I've done some analysis, and what we're looking at here is an output from my analysis, and we're going to be covering that in a minute, so please stick around. And remember, guys, please, this is a brand new YouTube channel and I'm really struggling to get my numbers up. I beg you please to hit that subscribe button, and please, if you find this content useful, hit that like button for me, please, because that means that more people get to see this video. I'm going to take a few steps backwards here, because think know your enemy, as I always said. Know your enemy. Why is it and how is it certain casinos are able to splash out millions and millions of pounds on marketing and paying influencers? Where do you think that money comes from, guys? Where do you think that money comes from? It comes from uneducated gamblers. If you're going to gamble with knowledge and education. And that fundamentally is what this channel is all about. It's about teaching everybody and giving them preparedness and a full understanding of a game, so they engage in a process with an educated mindset. The channel MrBtcGambler's is all about bots, coding, maths, statistics, testing. So when you do go live, you're not blind. So I know it sounds cheesy. I do all these things because I care about you. Simple as that. Yeah, I have seen the damage that casinos do to people, and I suppose this is my payback in effect. There's no guarantees in life. You can't. I'm not going to promise a panacea here, but what I have learned through statistics and analysis, there is a glimmer of hope, and the glimmer of hope is throwing back impossible odds at the casino is your best possible chance of winning. Using progressive voting as a mechanism to collect profits as you go along. So should the worst was to happen, at the very least you break even, but if not, hopefully you've made a profit, and that's some of the things that we're going to cover today. So if we look at Alphaverse running here, like I said, this is in simulation. It's not running real betting. We coded Alphaverse so you can run simulation now, and you'd never get 11,394,000 bets on 170 bots. In real, you wouldn't. Probably get about 1.5 million bets. So this is me testing an idea, and the idea came about. Let me show you the spreadsheet. So this is my spreadsheet that I put a lot of effort into, and it does an awful lot. So it works out the odds, the probabilities, and everything else. Got a validity checker in here. There's a lot that goes on in this particular spreadsheet, and in here I'm telling it that on an 18% win chance, which means you've got an 82% loss chance, setting a base bet. I thought that was the lowest denominator, but I've been told you can go lower than that. I have to say the last time I tested it, it wouldn't accept a bet of 0.0002. It said the bet was too low, but I've been told now you can go down to 0.0001, which would be interesting. But I've done all my testing on this, so I'm not too keen on changing it at the moment. And I've calculated that the maximum, this is a martingale system, the max you need to add 22.34% is the minimum denominator for the next, how much you need to add to each bet for full recovery. And that is covered in the spreadsheet here through the validity checker, this line here. So for example, if we take this multiplier to add to its loss here, and if we reduce that, for example, change it by 0.1%, I'm just going to show you from the statistics. So if I change it to 22.14% on the validity checker, this line here will go red if you go into a negative scenario. And as you can see on the 29th loss, you start making a loss, and that's really important if you're running Alphaverse. You need to maintain profitability throughout. Just take my word for it at that moment. They're too complex to explain why, but you can see this spreadsheet is doing a lot. And it also works out the odds and the probability at which point it's going to crash and what the win chance is. And this instance would crash at 89, and it couldn't do the 90th bet, for example, and that is a 57,115,000 chance of happening. So we go back to Alphaverse. I apologise, guys, if you find statistics boring, I apologise up front, but they're very, very critical because they tell you bits of key information that you can use to your advantage. It's the insightfulness of what's happening within the game. When you're testing en masse, you begin to form a picture, and I just want you guys to have the same sort of skill set. So you can see I've got 170 bots here, and they're all running. They've all got a fake balance. And they've been doing quite well. 3 days running, and I will continuously leave this running because this is doing a month's simulation, which is 7,600,000 bets, and then it's going to stop. What I'm trying to work out is how much money would have I needed to run this, and I've done some analysis already, and I'm going to show you what I found so far. And there is a reason why I switched the switch over under to at -82, and I'm going to show you from the data. Right, guys, so what I've done, I've taken all of the data, and this is live data from Alphaverse. I say live, it was a snapshot of not so long ago, and I've mapped out using this matrix here the maximum loss rate across every single account. Okay, and it goes across. And interesting, if we zoom out on this, you kind of get a bit of a weird pattern emerging. But let's put this back because looking at the matrix doesn't really tell us much. And what we can look at, so in the testing so far that's been running for 3 days, have done 472 million bets, and I've been mapping out the max loss streak, 472 million bets. And as what I can see, you start to see a pattern emerge in terms of nominal distribution where you would expect randomized data to exist apart from these outliers here. And it's these outliers that really are of interest to me because I think it's those sorts of things that you need to protect yourself against. So if we look at the distribution of actually the bets, if we took out those two outliers, 98% of the betting would have been below 85, 98%. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I wrote some code. It's called a Dicebot Simulator, and I put it on open source, and I will provide a link to that in the description of the video. That allowed me to test, provably fair, 100% replicating the casino dice on an extreme scale. And when I say it's extreme, I was able to bet 420,000 bets a second to really see where are the limits within the seeds. What is the maximum loss streak under a certain permutation? And I picked out some really odd anomalies, and the testing was very important because what I did, I set the server seed, the client seed, and the nonce, and I hard coded it. And from that information, I can try different strategies to try and protect myself. And what I found is, you can simulate an entire year's running in a minute, less than a minute, when you're running 420,000 bets a second. Please, the tools are there. It's open source. Go and use them. All you need is Node.js installed, and you can run it on your PC. It allowed me to try the same bets over and over again, but different variations of betting. And what I found is, if it was going to go above 82, it was going to go way above 82. And there was almost no stopping it. And at one instance, I saw 102 loss streak. And then I cranked away trying different variations of which, because the only tool that you've got available to you when you use dice is the ability to switch bet high or bet low. And that's how you can protect yourself against these extreme kind of events that are inevitable in every single seed. So when you're running Alphaverse, you've got to find ways to protect yourself against these really extreme events. So what I did do, I tried loads of variations and, switch high-low every single bet and tried lots of different variations. And then when I sat down and analysed the data, doing no switch over under, pretty much I saw a very similar picture to this, but then you had one or two that would go over 100. How the heck do you protect yourself against that? If we knew, like here, we picked up 98% of the bets were below 85 and below. So what I've done is that I put a switch over under at minus 82, at 82 losses. I don't touch it, and it takes, there's only a very small percentage. What's that? 7% of the accounts will hit that level. And as you can see, the switch over under has stopped 2% of them going above that, because they would have gone on. So I found from the data, if it's going to go to 82, it's going to go further than that, and that's what I've hard coded, and this is what we're exactly testing over at Alphaverse. 18% win chance, switch over under at 82 losses to protect against the extreme events. Now I could have only worked that out by actually simulating it, the on an extreme level. These sorts of patterns and things that you recognize within a seed. I think the core skill here is learning how to navigate your way through a seed. And depending on how you bet, whether it's a 25% win chance, 49.5% win chance, 18% win chance, there will be a pattern, there will be something that you need to work out. Now, there's no rhyme nor reason why I chose 18%. I can tell you that. But I just chose that number just to start with. And dice, again, it's just a start as well. So this is a journey of discovery for me, as it is probably for you guys as well. Now, looking at the range of the betting, it's interesting, when you look at the stats, as I said before, we're actually only 1% of the total betting went 86 and above. 1%. 16% was between 76 and 85, and the remaining 82% was between 55 and 75. So you can really chunk this data up just to put things into perspective. And the average, as you can see here, it was in that kind of 66 to 75 range. In fact, we've got the average figure here, which is 68 is the average. Now you might think, oh, well, this is all well and good. What is the point of all of this? I want you to stick around because I need your help. Right, so if we look at that data, we know, for example, that we go back up here, the maximum loss streak we saw was 89. Let's say, for example, going back to Alphaverse, if I was running this for real, how much money would I have needed? And that's quite easy to work out, because if we go back to the base bet here, we're covering up to 90 losses here. which is one above where it is now, we'd had to put a recovery pot of 102,200 TRX. And if we go back to Alphaverse, we have made 124,000, well, we vaulted 124,008, and so we're in profit territory. So even if it crashes at this point here, we haven't lost. And I think the primary objective to running anything like this is always to get your money back first. But I'm going to leave this running. Now I have put 1.4 million in the recovery pot, and I don't expect it to crash on that. And the only reason I've set it so high is because I want the data. I want this to complete, and I will leave this running for your disposal. You can see this running. You'll see in general chat, in Discord, this window is just going to be left open. So you can see, if you want to, just dip in and have a look to see how it's doing. Now, a key part of all of this has basically been the coding around all of this. Yeah, the recreation of the casino using building my own API server. Then from the API server, taking the raw output from an API call and converting that into game events that exactly matches stake. So far I have done the game dice and I have done the game limbo. Let me show you that. Right, here's the code for limbo. As you can see, I've hard coded a server seed and a client seed and a nonce position, because if I wanted to test variations of betting against the same bet results, then that's the best way to test, because you could see different outcomes. Now, I'm not an expert in limbo, but I know plenty of you here are, who are big advocates of in fact, I'm a little bit scared of limbo, to be honest with you, because I've never been very successful in it. It takes a lot of faith to play limbo in the way that certain people play limbo. The masters of limbo make a lot of money very successfully, but they kind of do it off a gut feel. Well, I like to think that all the betting I do is mathematically calculated based on statistical probabilities, not a gut feel. It's a very, very different game, but it does pose very interesting aspects. Like, for example, what I particularly like, speaking to the masters of this game, they try to teach me to think differently. Like if you're chasing 1000x, don't try to aim for an 1000x limbo, because unlikely. But what you could look for example, if you wanted 1000x, you could say you could do back-to-back betting. So you could take the winnings from the previous bet and say, I'm looking for 2 100x's in a row, so that'll give me 1000x. I mean, that's very low probability. Or you could say, I would look for 9 consecutive 2x's in a row. Probably more realistic, to be honest with you. And that way, if you work that out, that'd go from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512 and 1024. And that's what the experts in limbo do. So this limbo simulator is going to allow you to test all those ideas, and this will be up in GitHub. I will put the link in the description, and you can say have this code. Now what my intention is to get through all of the Stake Originals games, because not only, the reason I'm doing all this, I may as well make it open source as well, so you guys can go out there and become educated gamblers, but I need it for simulation in Alphaverse. So calculating out the results from a raw output from an API call into the game events, for most parts it's not been that difficult, but it hasn't been easy, I have to say, because I'm learning from scratch. So let me just quickly show you that. So what I've done, I've taken that server seed, the client seed, as specified in that code, and I put it into the state validity checker, and I've set the nonce position to position number 1, and that's exactly what I've got in the code here. If we bring up node, and the result was 1.25x. Right, with the magic of OBS, I've got an overlay of the Node.js screen, and I've got an overlay, obviously, to prove it to be fair. So I've set the server seed and the client seed and the nonce position exactly the same. So we can see the results. If I run the simulation, 1.25, which is exactly right what it's over here. So we know we're replicating the casino 100%. So if I change the code, for the purpose of the testing, I would just say we would do 10 bets. Save that. And we rerun the test, we should get 10 results. So looking at, if we could move through 10 positions, so we had 1.25. The next result was 17.23. And next one should be 1.29. Next one is 22.3. And then 3.74. You get it. You can look for all of these. We know it's 100% correct. So this gives me the basis to create a very effective testing strategy, and it's going to be a simulation bot. So there's going to be, I did a video where I did a dice bot simulation bot, and that was put on GitHub, and then there will be one now for limbo. And what my intention is is to gradually get my way through all of the games. Okay, now the outcome and the calculation for the raw output is actually here already. It tells you how to do it. And I've hit a bit of a brick wall, and this is where I'm kind of reaching out to you guys. I went on to Dragon Tower next. Now I thought it would be a case of just copying this. If I just show you the code. Now I've tried replicating exactly what it says on a casino to get the same output, to get the results back from the raw output, and I'm unable to do it. If there's anybody out there that can help me, I'd be very grateful. You're not just helping me, you're helping the community as a whole. Try to think as of being a collective. This is not about me, this is not about you or anybody. This is not about impressing anybody. This is about giving us as a like-minded community the tools we need to be armed to know our enemy better, to be more educated gamblers. So if anybody can help me, I'd be very, very grateful. Of recreating the results from the raw output from the API server into the game events. I think the bit where I struggle with more than anything else is how it calculates positions on the eggs based on the Fisher-Yates shuffle. There must be some formula behind it, and I cannot work it out. And every time I try to recreate it using different ideas, I get a different result. Now it's strange that Dragon Tower doesn't exist as a provably fair system on provablyfair.me. All the other games are there, but Dragon Tower is not listed. I reached out to support and they said that they couldn't give me the information I need because it's information that could be used to exploit the casino. Well, this game can never be provably fair. There's some proprietary calculation, but I do know it's possible. My plan is to get through every single game. That means that I can run simulation and every single game in Alphaverse, and that is the goal. And that is a tool there for everybody to use. Okay, gentlemen, going back to Alphaverse. So what this means for me now, you know this is in simulation mode, and the whole idea is just testing ideas. My plan and my goals are to get all the games in simulation mode because we're still testing the waters. And the reason we're testing the waters, I did go live running this, but I hit an extreme event that spooked me. I recovered, I didn't lose any money, but it spooked me enough to force me down this route to test more. And where I really want to be is I really want to be running Dragon Tower in here because that's my preferred game to run in Alphaverse. You know, I try to think of Alphaverse as being like a framework. It's not actually... The challenge I have with Alphaverse is people look to me for not only for Alphaverse, but also what strategy to run in it as well. And I fully understand it because people don't really know what to run on here. I don't want that level of responsibility, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say exactly what to run on here because that's where all the risk lies. Your own level of risk is your own personal choice. So I think the more you can arm yourself with more information and data analysis, the more educated you can be in terms of gambling, and the more games I can get in simulation, the better for everybody. So where I'm going to go with this, the most probable outcome from this is that my Alphaverse setup in my data center, nice and secure, will be run as a syndicate. That's what I'm thinking. If we can get this to 1,000 bots, I'm going to say this, and you're free to challenge me on this because there are many times where I like to be proven wrong. I'm not always right. I don't claim to be the master and expert in this. I know there are much smarter and more intelligent people in this community than myself. I think of myself as just a spokesperson. You know, I see dots and I join those dots together. You know, I'm not smarter than anybody else. I know that. And I know there are way smarter people than me in this community. I just join them together. Here's my thinking. Free to challenge me. The risk of running one bot, because you're in the uncertainty of a seed and the unknowns of a seed, are the same as running 1,000 bots. And I know a lot of you, as your brain cells will be firing off, no, for every bot that's an exponential risk associated to it. And there is some truth to that, but there generally isn't there. When you think it back down to the basic logic, you're betting in the unknown field. The only time that you take on risk is when you give the casino better odds. Does that make sense? I don't want you to give the casino better odds. The Achilles heel for every gambler is greed. Greed that will get you, because if you think, great, this is working, and then you increase your bet size, you've just made it easier for the casino to get you. I say to everybody that's playing this, you scale out, you don't scale up. In order to increase your returns, you don't increase your risk by increasing your bet size, You keep the risk the same, but increase the number of accounts that are running the same strategy. So you scale out rather than scaling up. And I think I can effectively demonstrate that through this simulation mode with effective strategies, data analysis, working to extreme events, and in throwing impossible odds back at the casino, and know your enemy and know ways to navigate through the seed. And fundamentally, that is what this is all about. And try to think that this is a community. We're a community of like-minded people, and we should be here for each other. You know, think of it, it's us versus them. Us, the player, them, the casino. And if there's any way you can help your fellow gamblers out, I'll ask you to please volunteer your time. You know, because I know there's some very clever people out there. They can massively help. And if we can help one person, 2 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, then we're doing good in the world, right? So I've noticed we've got like a mixture of members in the 2 Discords. Feel free to help if you can. You know, I'm going to call out Lewis here, who's been amazingly helpful. And I can't thank him enough. He picks up the reins when I'm not about, and he responds to people's messages, and I really appreciate that. And it's that level of engagement that I want from people. Try not to think that this is my Discord server. It's yours. It's a community. I'm free if you want more rights within Discord. I'm looking for more moderators, people that know how to develop Discord as well. You know, I want to create a platform, and I want to create a safe platform. I don't want underage people to get in here, you know, or vulnerable people to gambling. You know, some people have a genuine gambling problem that affects them. And I just think, you know, the ones that are far too emotional when it comes to gambling are the ones that kind of got alarm bells written over for me. And I don't want to do more damage than good. So I think we need some levels of control, just self-control within the community here. Any level-headed, sensible, like-minded person willing to come along and help me, you know, get Discord set up properly, wants to be a moderator, wants to be involved in the community, please make yourself known, because you will get no resistance from me. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help everybody. And you can start right now by making sure, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, only if you like it. If you don't like it, then don't like it. You know, you can share the video, put it on Twitter or whatever, because the more people we get to know this information, the more likely we're going to attract really good talent. So this is a recruitment drive to attract talented people. Come in, be part of the community. Let's build this Alphaverse up. Let's get it to 1,000 bots. Let's get this syndicate built up. Let's work together on the perfect strategy. You know, remember, I'm not the panacea of all knowledge. I'm just the coordinator. I'm the teacher. And I'm on a learning journey myself. I am still learning, and what I learn, I teach. And if that can make you better and more educated gamblers, then I've done something good in the world. Well, on that note, guys, I don't want to leave it on a somber note. I'm just genuinely excited about what's coming up in the future. I'm looking for community members to come and join me on this journey. And I'm going to end the video here. And I'm going to wish you a very Merry Christmas. You, your family, your loved ones. I hope you have got the best Christmas you ever had. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.